Chair now recognizes Representative Kinzinger. You're recognized.
Well, thank you, Chairman Leader Jeffries. Thanks for having me. It's way different on this side, guys, let me tell you. I want to just briefly talk about the whole idea of this plaque. It's shocking to me, by the way, that that has not been put up. Now, I am convinced that it will be put up at least by next January, and I'll humbly suggest maybe you can double the size of it by then. 5 years ago today, the president decided that America's legacy of transfer of power was beneath him. It was beneath him. And we all know what he did. He sent the mob to the Capitol and tried to rob the American people of their votes. He aimed to destroy America's self-determination and replace it with his own corrupt will. We've all seen the videos. We even saw them today. You know how vicious it was. No rational person can look at that violence that occurred on January 6th and think that it is not wrong. But even more concerning is that threats to our democracy have continued beyond what we've witnessed 5 years ago. And it's continued to today. The persisting threat to our nation lies in how Donald Trump and his allies have manufactured an alternate reality of conspiracies to support their violent siege of our democracy. It's simple. They want to rewrite history. By the way, we won't let them. These conspiracies started even before January 6th. The moment that Donald Trump realized that he could lose to Joe Biden, he began touting the big lie to undercut the public's trust in the election. And we all know that the thing that holds us together as Americans and the thing that allows us to self-govern is our belief that we can vote. If you're allowed to vote, the votes are counted and the winner wins. And when you violate that, you create real damage to the American people. When he began touting that big lie, he wanted us to believe that the election was stolen, that there was widespread voter fraud. This has been unequivocally disproven. It's been debunked by a series of independent agencies, Trump's own advisors, and more than 60 courts that did not rule in Trump's favor. And yet Donald Trump continues to spin. Trump even lied a few weeks ago when he told a little girl calling the White House on Christmas Eve that he had won Pennsylvania in 2020. He said he won Pennsylvania 3 times. It's a great thing to tell a kid that wants to know where Santa is. And his supporters follow suit, either knowingly pushing debunked conspiracy theories or still duped by the MAGA cult to spread ridiculous, widely disproven narratives whitewashing Trump's role and minimizing the attack. For example, his followers claim that Capitol Police opened the door to rioters, even though we have the footage of these officers being attacked and run down, with rioters literally stepping over injured officers to get inside. They claim that the January 6th attack was a sudden, unpredictable event. In reality, Trump sent rioters to the Capitol on January 6th, and we have the receipts showing that extremist right-wing groups planned the attacks for weeks beforehand. They also like to claim that the left-wing group Antifa, not Trump supporters, secretly orchestrated all the violence on January 6th. But we know it was groups like the Proud Boys, Oath Keepers, that started the violence on the 6th. DOJ's and FBI's own investigation debunked that wild theory. Many of my fellow Republicans even want to pretend that Donald Trump wasn't responsible for it and that he did not condone the violence on January 6th, even though we all can plainly see that it was Donald Trump who called on his supporters to march down Pennsylvania Avenue and fight like hell. It was Donald Trump who sat in the White House, as we discussed, for 187 minutes, watching the attack unfold, throwing gasoline on the flames with his 2:24 p.m. tweet targeting Vice President Pence in the middle of it. And since then, he's called January 6th defendants political prisoners and hostages. I want to point out here for a second that when these folks were arrested, they were contrite, as Ms. Hemphill was. And then the whole media organization of some of these came around and started calling them political prisoners. And when they did, they made them victims. And then that's when you saw the narrative change from they broke the law to they're victims. This is then in one of the first acts of the president's term, he immediately pardoned all of those people who took up arms for his wicked cause that day. I hear often, well, Adam, Trump only pardoned the innocent ones. He never pardoned. Cop beaters are real criminals. Well, that's obviously another false narrative. He didn't just pardon the nonviolent or non-dangerous people. He pardoned every single criminal who beat, kicked, punched, and pepper sprayed over 140 of our law enforcement officers. He pardoned every single criminal who helped drag a screaming officer into a crowd and said to shoot him with his own gun. I get asked frequently, why are you still going on about January 6th? Can't you just let it go? If our country had achieved real accountability and deterrence, we could move on. But we have not. A fact made clear by Donald Trump still spinning his conspiracies and his base still continuing to promote them. Donald Trump knows that these lies and stories only strengthen his power over the American people. How can I allow this without sharing what I know to be true, that on January 6th he tried to overthrow his government and call myself a patriot? How can I let that happen and call myself a patriot? How can we ever ensure that our votes matter if we bow to the narrative of a president who incites an insurrection, denies doing it, and then pardons the insurrectionists? The rewriting of January 6th is un-American. That's why we're here on this important day, to safeguard our democracy and call out corruption without fear of Donald Trump's persecution, so that a day like this may never stay in our country again. I also get asked a lot, what did the January 6th committee accomplish? And I'll tell you, we may have another few years. We have to continue to battle this misinformation. But I guarantee you that my kid and my grandkid and his grandkid will know the truth of what happened on that day. Because while the DOJ was not allowed to finish their investigation because the president knew exactly what they had, and he made them drop it. Because of that, the only living record was the January 6th committee, and I am proud of our work, and I yield back.
Thank you.